So what does off-market mean in real estate? And I really understand the question because with the way real estate prices have gone recently, everyone is kind of wondering where can they get a good deal. Further, wouldn't you like to know how to find them and actually get one for yourself? Well, I'm going to cover that right now. Let's go. So I'm going to go over what the definition of off-market real estate is. I'm going to go over the different types of off-market deals that you can find, and then I'm going to show you how to actually find them. And then if it turns out to be something that you want to dive deeper into and you want some additional help, at the end, I'll show you how to get it. In real estate, really simply put, off-market means the property is not listed on market for sale. But there's two different sort of contexts that you're going to want to pay attention to, of which could result into two distinct meanings. But first, let's talk about why you should even care. The reason off-market properties are important and something that you'd want to pay attention to is because you've got less competition there. When you actually find one, you might just have one or two other buyers that you're going to compete against, or maybe none at all. Also, negotiations, they can become much more flexible. And essentially, it really becomes in the buyer's favor. The power is a little bit more in your position. And further, as the buyer, you'll have an even greater hand if the seller is in some sort of distressed situation. The burden of the sale will typically fall into the seller's lap, and they have to kind of do what they can to appeal to the buyer. And as real estate investors, when you go in and look at a property that's in a distressed situation, you're there to help. You're there to do the seller a favor. So it's really in the seller's best interest to try and convince you, the buyer, to buy the property, as opposed to how most people will go about it, where the buyer goes in trying to convince the seller to sell. And consequently, the seller will typically place fewer conditions on that sale. And all of these things can result into a signed contract that otherwise might not have happened had that property been on market. So if the buyer has a little bit of an advantage in purchasing an off-market property, why would the seller even choose to go this route? So unless it's a luxury pocket listing type of transaction, the seller is probably not too interested in getting top dollar. And that may sound crazy, but there are things more important to people than getting top dollar, like the speed of the sale. They need to sell fast, or the convenience of the sale. Maybe they don't want people coming through their house on the weekends and they don't want to go ahead and always have the house ready to show. Or what I find more times than not is sellers are more interested in the certainty of the sale. They actually want it to close. And oftentimes that is more important to them than getting top dollar. Now, there are really just three reasons why a property would be considered off market. The first one is the seller might have previously had the property for sale and for one reason or another removed it from the market. And so they're no longer accepting or reviewing offers. If you've been shopping online like a Zillow or a Redfin or a TRULIA, you may have seen a house here or there that said it was actually off market. Well, that's what it means most of the time. And you might see additional labels attached to those properties that are off market, like sale pending or contingent. So when a property is marked pending, what that means, it's under contract and likely all of those contingencies or the conditions that were given to the buyer, they've all been met. Now, this could be still an opportunity for a purchase for yourself. You'll have to pay attention and follow up with the property because not every single property will close when it's pending and it will come back on market sometimes. Contingent properties are still active listings technically, but they are under contract and the buyer is going through their due diligence process. Now, that's another area that you may want to watch because if something comes up in their due diligence process that they don't like, it might be reason for them to cancel the contract and that property will go back on market as active and that could be an opportunity for you. Something that everyone else kind of gave up on because they thought it was already sold. Because you followed up, that could turn into a great deal for yourself. Another label that you may see is temporary off market. And there are a few reasons that a property might be just temporarily off market. First is the property might have been on the market for a while and it hasn't sold. And the seller, they just want to take a break. Two, the seller may be traveling and doesn't want anyone in their house, doesn't want it being shown while they're not home. Three, the seller might be making repairs to the property and getting it ready to sell. And they don't want people coming through the house before it's finished. They don't want people potentially getting hurt with construction going on. That's another reason. Or four, maybe the seller has house guests and they don't want to be interrupted. And you'll see this frequently during the holidays or during the summer months. The second reason a property might be considered off market is because it's classified, meaning it's a pocket listing. A pocket listing is where a seller will employ a real estate agent to sell their property, but they want them to sell the property privately. And agents will typically market these properties as office exclusives to their more preferred clients. You'll see this a lot in the luxury home market. And they may share these pocket listings with a small network of their closest friends, their associates in the real estate industry. Once an exclusive process, these pocket listings, they've become a lot more common. It's actually become so common that the National Association of Realtors now has a policy that these types of listings, these pocket listings, can only be promoted within their own office. The third reason a property might be considered off-market is because it's being sold at auction, which is technically not on market. You need to know about these auctions to go ahead and get access to these types of properties. And the reason a property might end up as an auction could be one, the seller has fallen behind on their payments and now it's in default and the bank wants it back. Two, they've stopped or failed to make their property tax payments, and so now the city or the county is taking that property back. Or third, it could be some sort of, mischievous or indiscretion that the seller has been involved in other words, a crime, and the U.S. Marshals are now seizing the property. The fourth reason a property might be categorized as off-market is because it's just flat out not for sale. And this is typically where real estate investors play, myself and my students included. And you'll find typically zero competition here at all, and really kind of where the best deals can be found if you know how to go out and reach out to those sellers. So before I break down how to find these off-market deals, if this already kind of has your wheels turning and you really take your real estate investing seriously, let me know by clicking the subscribe button, because I post stuff like this each and every week that can really help you level up your real estate investing. So now let's talk about how to find these deals now that you know what they are. And I want to start with the properties that are listed on the multiple listing service. And this is the MLS. This is what the real estate agents use to serve their clients, where they help their clients buy properties, where they help their clients sell properties. And if you have access to the multiple listing service, then you probably already know this. If you don't, you're gonna wanna connect with a real estate agent and they can give you access and you can work together. But what you'll do is you'll search the multiple listing service, and in the little category, you can define what status you're looking for. And if we're looking for off-market properties, you can look for contingency properties, you can look for pending sales. And what you do is you would make a list of those properties, and then you just kind of check up on them on a daily basis or every other day or so to see if any of those should fall out of contract, so you can be first in line to take advantage of those opportunities. If you don't have access to the multiple listing service, you could look to a website like a Zillow or like a Redfin or like a Trulia, and you can search there as well. And you will find pending sales, you will find off-market properties. As recently as just yesterday when I looked, it was there. Now, they have a tendency to change their websites all the time, so it might not be as simple as that, but you just have to be a little bit more intuitive, do a little bit of investigating, look around a little bit, and you'll be able to figure it out. Now let's talk about how to find the pocket listings. And those are going to be directly from a real estate agent. So you're gonna have to connect with a real estate agent to really get any sort of substantial access to these types of properties. However, not every real estate agent will have access to these off-market properties. Experienced agents are most likely to have access to these properties and a network in place of other experienced agents that will have these pocket listings, as opposed to someone that just got their license. Now, one thing to mention when working with real estate agents, you kind of have to understand how they view or what their perception is of real estate investors for the most part. They certainly have their custom clientele that they work with over and over and over again, but for the most part, they look at the entire real estate investing community or real estate investors in a very specific way, and it's not really in a good way. You see, they hold open houses on the weekends, and there will be a time where, 2, 3, 4 on any given day, real estate investors will come in and ask that real estate agent, hey, you got any deals? And they get that question all the time. And they come in and they say, hey, I'm just looking for something that pencils, I'm looking for something that makes sense. They're very vague with their criteria. And real estate agents, they just kind of roll their eyes in the back of their head because they know it's probably not going to amount to much, because most of those real estate investors do waste their time. So understand, if you're reaching out to a real estate agent for the first time, that is their perception of you already. So be patient with them and explain to them specifically what you're looking for and how you plan to purchase and who you plan on representing you, and you're gonna get a lot more cooperation. The best thing you can do when you connect with a real estate agent is when they bring you an opportunity is for you to follow through. Because if you follow through, that means they get compensated. And at the end of the day, that's what real estate agents care about most. They care about the commission. They care about frequent commission. They care about easy commission. They care about for sure commission. And if you represent that to them, that could be a great source of these pocket listings for you. One last place where you can find these pocket listings, and this is rather new, they have pocket listing services. You can find pocket listings on various websites, such as homefinder.com, auction.com. There are great sources of properties on Realty Track. You can find your foreclosures there. And don't forget CRAIGSLIST. It's kind of a necessary evil, but there are deals found on there each and every single day. And then also, try going to USMARSHALS.GOV. Every once in a while, you'll find some great opportunities there too. Now, another way to find off-market deals is to contract property owners directly, those that don't necessarily have their property for sale at all. Now, this is how I've purchased most of my properties, and it's how I teach my students how to do it as well. And what we're looking for are property owners with signs or symptoms of distress, like personal distress, financial distress, or maybe the property itself is in some sort of distress. And then we'll contact them through a number of means, like maybe via direct mail, maybe knocking on their door, or just the good old-fashioned telephone. We'll also market in a way that attracts distressed sellers to us. And we can do that in a number of ways. Anywhere that you can market or advertise is a great way to attract these sellers to call you for help. You know, that might happen through those little ugly yellow signs that you've seen in your neighborhood. It says, "We buy houses." You see those everywhere because they work. It's a great way to contact and find off-market sellers, off-market deals. We can also use social media. We can use Google ads and classifieds, both online and off. And really, there's an unlimited number of ways that you can do this. Wherever there's marketing, wherever there's advertising, that's a potential opportunity for you to place your message in front of distressed sellers. Now, contacting sellers, it can sometimes be slow going at first, but with persistence and consistency, it can snowball into an abundance of real estate opportunity for you. So be patient, because you'll talk to sellers who might not want to sell now, but if you're patient and you stay in touch, when they are ready to sell, they're going to contact the person that they remember. So you want to stay at top of mind, and you continue to do that with your marketing. Now, another strategy to contact these types of sellers that might be more ready to sell than not is to go through the public records and kind of evaluate their situation and see if they're in a position where, you know, they probably actually need to sell, or very least should sell. And what I'm actually referring to are properties that are in pre-foreclosure, or properties that have been issued a notice of default. You see, these are public records, and this is a sign, a symptom that there might be some sort of financial distress there, because what it says is they have fallen behind on their mortgage payments, and either they're going to catch up or they are not. And if they are not, you want to be there to help them out before the bank actually takes the property back. And you should also monitor eviction records, because evictions can be costly, they can be time consuming, they can be very frustrating for landlords, and this might be an opportunity to reach out to a landlord when they've absolutely had it and they are ready to sell. So if you'd like to get started looking for off-market deals, what I've done is I've put together a short free training for you, and you can go ahead and access that free training at mattsfreetraining.com. Now, you can type that into your browser directly, or for your convenience, I've also put a link in the description for you below. And if I don't see you there, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.